Today we're doing something different. We are ranking every arc in Hunter x Hunter via tier list. Why? Because I'm bored and I wanted to make a video. Hunter x Hunter is a series that has more breaks than chapters, but Togashi has recently been posting on his Twitter account every day a progress of his chapters. Disclaimer, I've only seen the 2011 anime and not read a single chapter since, so this list will only contain the arcs from that adaptation and nothing more. You may like or dislike my rankings, but hey, we all love this series, so that's gotta mean something, right? Well anyways, that said, let's jump into the list. Hunter Exam. I don't think people realize how great this arc really is. I'm aware that the arcs in Hunter x Hunter gradually get more complex and have more deeper layers to it, and I know that the earlier arcs are more setup and introduction. And my goodness, this arc is a wonderful introduction to Togashi's characters and the world of Hunter x Hunter. Episode 1, we get an introduction to Gon Freaks and why he wants to become a hunter right off the bat, as well as meeting the other two main characters, Kurapika and Leorio, and figuring out why they want to be hunters too, in a straightforward matter. Not only that, but in this arc, there's moment after moment after moment that just gradually gets better for me. The first phase of the exam when they're running to the room where Gon and Killua meet each other for the first time, as well as finding out about Leorio's true motives for becoming a hunter. Then we get the first encounter with Hisoka. Then we get Hisoka punching Gon. Then we get the entire third phase where Gon, Killua, Kurapika, and Leorio show off their beats and characteristics, to finally ending the arc with such a massive moment. Gon fighting Hanzo declaring his will, and Killua's brother Irumi trying to kill Gon to taunt his little brother into his killing habits, which makes Gon want to go and find Killua by the end of the arc. I can't stress how much fun I had watching this arc the first time around and how brilliant it establishes all of these characters, the world of Hunter x Hunter, and plot points that will become relevant much more later. I know some people may not like this arc for how boring it may be, but for me personally, I could easily go back and watch this arc again. So with that, the Hunter Exam goes to A tier. Next up, we get introduced to Killua's whole family in the Zoldyck Family arc. When writing this video, I honestly didn't expect to have such trouble, ranking the earlier arcs of Hunter x Hunter. And this arc is no exception too. There are parts of this arc that I really like. The whole weight training stuff with Gon, Kurapika, and Leorio going after Killua and wearing weights for an entire day to try and push the door to the Zoldyck mansion. Gon standing up to Canary as he tries to get closer to his friend, and of course, Goto's coin game at the very end. It was fun delving more into Killua's backstory and seeing the different personalities each member of his family displays. That being said, however, I will say this is probably my least favorite arc from Hunter x Hunter. Not because it's bad or anything, but primarily just because it's way too short. I know what Togashi is capable of through Yu Yu Hakusho and the later arcs of Hunter x Hunter, that this to me has always felt more like a breather before we really get started. That being said, the Zoldyck Family arc gets a nice comfortable spot in C tier, Heaven's Arena. This arc is very solid. We depart ways with Kurapika and Leorio and we solely focus on Gon and Killua. We get introduced to Hunter x Hunter's power system, the Nen power system, which I believe to be the best power system in all of anime, and we get the legendary moment of Gon punching Hisoka and their entire fight. It's all very good. Alas, this isn't one of my favorite arcs in Hunter x Hunter. I personally didn't care for the three fighters that bullied that one kid trained under wing, and I felt like this arc went on for a bit too long. I only saw this as a training arc and nothing more. It does everything right, but however for me, I just prefer the later stuff a lot more than this. So with that, Heaven Arena makes its entry to B tier, Yorknew City. This is where Hunter x Hunter goes from good to great. And by great, I mean fucking outstanding. This arc is godly. We finally get more depth into Kurapika's character and finally get to meet the Phantom Troop, which was talked about since episode 1. Each member of the troop have their own personalities and dynamics that I very much enjoy. There's not a single member that I think is a bad character. This arc showed me that Togashi truly is a wizard when it comes to writing characters. For the first time in the series, it feels like Gon and Killua feel like secondary characters to the overarching plot that is Kurapika aiming to get his revenge. The fight between Kurapika and Uvogin showed us how terrifying a Nen ability with vows and limitations situations can be. In this arc, we learn about more of the rules and the different personalities presented by the Nen power system and how each person has a different Nen than the other. This arc was when I really fell in love with Hunter x Hunter. The fight between Kurapika and Uvogin is genuinely one of my favorites in this fight. I mean, heck, this man brought a shovel! The troop finding out about Uvogin's death, to then Chrollo fighting Killua's father and grandfather, to then him and the whole troop killing everybody, making a requiem for his fallen friend. Chrollo to me is genuinely such an interesting character and my goodness, a great villain for the short time that he had. In fact, hold up, let's talk about how this arc begins. This arc begins with Gon getting a message from his dad, Jing Freaks, about Greed Island, which creates the subplot of Gon, Killua, and later on Leorio trying to win the auction to get a card to Greed Island, to then later both subplots coming together at the very end, to then Kurapika making it so that Chrollo can't use his Nen ever again. Oh my goodness, this arc is amazing. This arc to me represents the greatness of Hunter x Hunter, and I honestly have a hard time choosing between this arc and a later arc in terms of which is my favorite from this series. I could go on and on and on about how freaking amazing this arc is, but then we'd be here all day. So with that, Yorknew City gets nothing less than an S tier, making it the first S tier on this list. Greed Island. I think this arc is overhated a bit too much. At first glance when watching this, I thought the arc was going to be boring and just like the Heavens Arena, but Togashi proved me wrong. He did one hell of a job creating this arc. I mean, I could tell that he was a massive fan of Yu-Gi-Oh! When he designed the card game system for the whole island of Greed Island. This is the arc where we find out more on the world of Hunter x Hunter, as well as more on the character of Jing. Finding out he made this world simply for Gon, and then later to be revealed that Greed Island is a video game that takes place in the real world. I agree with the fans when they say that the whole Bomber storyline was uninteresting and bland. I personally didn't care for it either. But whilst that's the only downside for me, everything else in this arc is just great. I love Bisky as a character, she's really fun to have on screen, and I loved her dynamic with Gon and Killua. Loved the moments where Gon and Killua made Nen into their own, and I freaking love the dodgeball game. Especially with Hisoka joining to help us out against Razor, who I really like as a character as well. All in all, Greed Island is a really fun arc. However, its downside is the fact that it's a nice fun arc sandwiched in between two amazing arcs. This is more of a calm before the storm, and I feel like this was an arc that Togashi just wanted to write for fun. And for me at least, that fun factor managed to bleed through to the screen. Therefore, for me personally, I'll put Greed Island on B tier. Chimera Ant. This is the arc that everyone remembers from Hunter x Hunter. With good reason. This, to me at least, is not only Hunter x Hunter's best arc, this is Togashi's best arc that he's ever written. That includes all the arcs from Yu Yu Hakusho as well. This is by far one of the darkest arcs I've ever watched in anime that it puts shows like Attack on Titan to shame. This arc is quite long though, I will admit, and there are parts of this that I personally found to be bothersome. The whole middle portion especially, when our heroes are training themselves to prepare for the palace invasion. The 2 episodes where the whole Phantom troops are fighting off against the ants, whilst cool and enjoyable to watch, I felt like added nothing to the story for me. And of course, the narrator. And whilst I have issues with some of those points, I can still enjoy the arc the same. A wide majority have an issue with the beginning of this arc, but for me, I really enjoyed the beginning of the Chimera Ant arc. I felt like set the tone greatly and showed just how much of a threat these ants are. The introduction of Kite, who Gon knew as a child, and the reveal that Kite was trained under Jing, and the reveal, which happened in the manga in chapter 1 apparently, that the anime cut out for some reason, that Kite was the reason why Gon became a hunter and why Gon wanted to search for his father, which knowing that makes his death scene really hard to watch, especially for the character of Gon, which this arc shows us how the events of the world can break the main character as we see Gon absolutely snap towards the end of this arc. This arc made Gon and Killua's character development really enjoyable to see, and quite honestly brought me to tears in certain moments. One of the few episodes that always sticks out to me when I watch Hunter x Hunter is that episode where Gon finally meets Pito after the day with Kite and just completely loses it at her, even snapping at his friend Killua, and the amount of emotion that was displayed was something I've quite honestly never seen before. Even outside of Gon and Killua's development, everything else that happens is equally as good. The main villain of the arc, King Meruem. For me, that's not only the best villain in Hunter x Hunter, that's one of my favorite villains in all of anime. I loved his three-dimensional character. I loved the character progression from him being an absolute monster and a threat to at the end of the arc becoming more human than the chairman Netero himself. Which, by the way, Netero vs Meruem is the best fight of Hunter x Hunter, don't at me. Not only that, but the way this arc ends as well is so heartwarming. The episode where Meruem and Komugi play Gungi and later on die hand in hand, I couldn't stop crying at this moment. And the episode later where Rei, the little girl from the beginning of the arc, reunites with her mother. Simply just amazing. You know, there are certain key elements revealed in this arc that hasn't been explored yet that most likely will be explored later on in Hunter x Hunter's run if, Togashi bothers to write. But for the most part, this is the arc that people remember the most from Hunter x Hunter, and this is the arc that I truly believe is the best of Hunter x Hunter, despite the flaws that it has. There's so much I can talk about in this arc that honestly this video alone would not be able to do it justice. So until the day comes where I properly talk about Hunter x Hunter in a video, I will gladly put the Chimera Ant arc on top of S tier. Last but not least, the chairman election. Following the events of the Chimera Ant arc, Killua goes to find a cure to help save Gon's life, and his way of doing that is introducing a new member of the Zoldyck family who we never got to meet, Killua's little sister Aluka and Nanika. Despite the fact that I personally think that she was merely just a plot device to bring back Gon into the story, I really liked her character and her backstory, and I really love her relationship with Killua. The moments that the two had together were really wholesome. And whilst that's happening, the Hunter Association is having to find a new chairman, and thus they bring the election, introducing the 12 Zodiacs, one of them being the deadbeat man himself, Jing Freaks, who is hated by literally every single person. Also, Leorio's back, and he punches the shit out of Gon's father, which, you know what, I very much love. And so does everyone from the looks of it, because this man managed to get in the top 3 of the election votes. As the two plot points have happened, this arc ends with Gon departing ways with Killua and finally meeting his father. And that marks the end for Hunter x Hunter's anime and the story of Gon and Killua. Despite some of the issues with this arc that I may have, I hand on heart think this was a great arc to end the anime on. So much so that if you choose to stop watching Hunter x Hunter after this arc, that's fair. You can consider this an end to the story, as there isn't one that exists currently. I only consider this to be the beginning of Hunter x Hunter, with the reveal that the world that they live in is much smaller compared to the dark continent surrounding it. And from this interaction, we get my personal favorite line from this whole show. This to me perfectly sums up all of Hunter x Hunter. It's weird, this arc for me, it has the charm from early Hunter x Hunter, while still being as dark and as complex in plot as the series grew to be. So with that, I will put the chairman election arc in A tier. And yeah, that's the video everyone. Hope you enjoyed and agreed with my rankings. Next, I plan to talk about My Hero Academia as that series is ending soon. But until then, if you like this video, please consider subscribing and sharing this around. That will really help this channel out a lot. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.